We're good.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 4 of the They Fly Now show. I'm one of your co-hosts, Cart2D2, along with Hereth Productions down below, and we had to take a little break last week because I am in a sling now. I had to get surgery, I got surgery last Friday, so we're like, let's just take a break this week, and then we'll get right back to it next week. So, we are back, and today we are going to be talking about Mortis with these fabulous guests. Thank you guys for joining. Tell us who you are, how you got into Star Wars, and what is your favorite Clone Wars arc. Gray, if you want to go first.
Hi, I'm Gray. I am just in a bunch of communities on YouTube. I will have a channel, and I am on TikTok, Dawn of the Gray. My favorite Star Wars is Clone Wars, hands down, of all Star Wars. So choosing a particular arc is very hard, because I love the Citadel arc with Tarkin, the Mortis arc, Yoda's journey, amazing, the Wookiee hunt, Chewbacca, after that, and anything with Cad Bane.
Yeah, I personally love the Citadel arc also. And DePaul, who are you? Where can we find you? And what is your favorite Clone Wars arc?
Hi, my name is Jedi Master Paul. You can find me on TikTok, also under Jedi Master Paul. And you can also find me on YouTube bi-weekly with my co-host and dyad, X-Car Gamer Skills, on the Conspiracy Cantina. And yeah, so my favorite arc in Clone Wars, it's funny, I have two, but the Mortis arc is actually one of my favorite ones. And the I would honestly the siege on Mandalore, that's actually one of the best ones out there. They took their time with that one. So yes, that was a good one.
Oh yeah, for sure. Hereth, do you want to get us going into our first segment? Because today we are going to be talking, obviously it's the title, and I just said a few minutes ago, about Mortis and the deeper meaning behind it, and obviously we have the best people here to talk about it with.
Yeah. So absolutely, we'll start with like a kind of like an easing question. So when you guys first originally watched Mortis, what were your overall thoughts at the time, and how did it change to now on you guys' rewatch? Gray, you can go first.
I was very surprised by it because there wasn't a lot of magic, sorcery.
She cut off for any of you guys? You cut off for just a little bit.
Yeah.
If you just want to re-say that.
Sorry about that, guys.
Oh no, you're all good.
It happened.
When I first saw it, I was a little bit taken aback by the magic and the mystic and the sorceryness, like with with Palpatine and whatnot. And and I was saying that from the World Between Worlds when he was trying to go after Ahsoka and Ezra, and I associate all that with the Mortis was very magical, and I love that. And now that's like one of my favorite parts of Star Wars is all the like sorcery and mysticism they add in.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot when you first talk, because you're like, oh my gosh, what the heck is all this stuff, and why have we never seen this before? But yeah, DePaul, if you wanna go.
Yeah, so I originally saw the Mortis arc. I was like, okay, this is going to be intriguing, because I'm extremely fascinated with the whole Force lore and all that stuff like that. The mysticness of it, and I was like, okay, this is different. Yeah, how they build everything up. I was like, okay, well, what kind of place is this? I didn't even know they were going with having it just appear out of nowhere, and then boom, it's right there. And then they're like, are they in another dimension or what? Or what is this? Different timeline. I was confused, but when it played out and I saw everything, I was like, this is the Force. This is the living embodiment of the Force. I'm like, is this a metaphor or is this actual thing? I was like, this is crazy. So for me, I loved it. It just really, I want more of this, or more of this. This is this is what I'm talking about. This is what my curiosity has been piquing about the Force. Let's tap more into this one. Let's see what happens with it. And then I thought they were going to go more in that direction, and then it was just an arc. I was like, sad.
Sad face.
But yeah, and I've rewatched it twice since the first time I saw it, and um, yeah, it's I'm looking for different things and like just picking it apart, and it's just it gets better and better each time.
Yeah, there's so much to dive into, and that's just not on the surface. It's almost like in English class whenever you like overly analyze a book, but like you need to with Mortis because there's so much stuff and like almost everything that they do has a meaning, and that's like exactly what we're going to go into today. Is what are those things and what are they all meaning? What do they symbolize throughout the 3 episodes?
Yeah, I feel like that's a good segue to ask about. Let's get a little bit more particular and specific with our thoughts. Let's start with the introduction of how they appear. Let's start with the daughter. What are you guys' thoughts on the daughter? Let's start with DePaul.
So it's interesting how they portray the daughter. Her even like she was supposed to be the embodiment of the light. Just the vividness and the glowing, the paving the light for everybody going forward, guiding people. And if you ever notice, like every time you saw her with either Anakin or whoever, she was always guiding somebody, leading them somewhere. And but just her attitude and her demeanor, it was interesting looking. I was like, well, the light side is supposed to be good. People think of the goodness and everything with the light side, but she was kind of a snob and like just like, I'm better than you. Don't touch me. It's like, and like it wasn't like no one was touching her in a bad way. It was just more of like, what's going on, and she was just like didn't want to be tolerated. And looking at everything, it's like, okay, like why, like is this how people see the light side, or is this how people, this is how the Jedi interpret the light side as being as some holier than thou type. That was the perception I got from her, from the daughter, and I was like, but once you was around her and dealt with her more, she kind of calmed down. The guard went down a little bit.
Yeah. And like as you were saying, she's constantly guiding them this whole time. The very first thing she does is, I have to guide you and I have to take you to the Father. And then as we're doing that, we see the planet start to change and we meet the sorry, Gray, you have to go first and then we'll segue into the sun.
I thought the daughter was pretty simple to me in the fact that she played the light side. I didn't have a lot to say on her that wasn't already touched.
Yeah, and exactly. She's the embodiment of the light side of the Force, and that's definitely the main takeaway and definitely guiding us throughout the episodes. And now I can do that transition. As she's guiding them through Mortis, we get abruptly stopped by none other than the sun. So, Gray, if you want to talk your thoughts about the sun, and like, what do you think about him? What are your overall thoughts?
I think the sun is the most interesting part of the Mortis, and I think is the main focus. What the main story is about the sun. I think he was kind of about what was going on in the first episode, and then dark side in the episode after he killed his sister, the daughter, did the Sith sacrifice. A part of the Mortis arc that was cut, that they had some finished stuff about it, was he was talking to Revan and Bane they removed it, and they said that was when he. So I was assuming that he was kind of on the fence, and then they specifically said the person who controls Skywalker galaxy. So I think he, in turn, wanted what all Sith want to do: control the galaxy and go kill the Emperor with Anakin over.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So there are deleted scenes in Mortis. Huh. I want to go watch those. I actually really want to go watch those. Hereth, have you seen those?
Yeah, I've seen those. I remember I even looked into the why they cut them. Apparently, the reason was because Lucas couldn't get over the fact that there were like Sith Force ghosts, and he thought that was like a weird play for the Sith because they're always craving power. So he thought it'd be out of play for them to be ghosts. So
and Revan's arc was redeemed at the
Yeah. So it would have made much sense for him to then be a Sith ghost.
But
Yeah,
I
it
still
makes
think
sense.
that point was art. I don't think they meant for that or ghosts or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And DePaul, if you want to talk about the sun.
The sun. So the sun actually gave me a better perspective of how dark the dark side is. I mean, it gave you a visualization. I mean, you knew that because some people can say that bad things are about perspective. You know, what one person may think is bad or you're going dark. It may not be as dark to another person, but seeing it, the embodiment of the dark side from the sun, and just his mentality, his thought process, and even from the first thing when they asked, when Obi-Wan's like, "Oh, you're Sith," he's like, "No, I'm not Sith. No, I'm not. I'm not that." Now, what was interesting about him is that when he's, is like, "I'm not Sith," is that anyone can tap into that darkness, and it's in people. It's just a matter of if it comes out, and just the way he craved certain things and went about certain ways, even it even corrupted him, and he's supposed to be the embodiment of it. It's like you think that the person who is the avatar of the dark side can have more control over it, and he doesn't. He's still craving other things, such as Skywalker, to
Yes.
to find out, hey, how can I do this and this and this? So yeah, it went deep, and just his whole thought process around that, and that was the only thing that really confused me. Is like, you supposed to be like the embodiment, and maybe he wasn't conscious of his own power, but that's just something that confused me about both of the daughter and the son. Is just that mostly the son, because he's constantly going for it, has a purpose or is passionate about finding the next more power, more thing like that, and it just corrupts. It just tells you more and more about the dark side.
Yeah. What's interesting there is, again, they asked him, "Are you Sith?" And he says, "No." Well, isn't he like, he's like, "Yes, I am Sith, but I'm not."
yeah, he's just the embodiment. He's the embodiment of the dark side.
Yes. Hereth, if you want to touch on anything.
No, I feel like Master DePaul pretty much nailed on all the points I was gonna make. The only point I could really add besides behind the scenes stuff was apparently when they were first recording this, Sam Witwer was just struggling with all the Sith lines because he was like, I don't want to dive too much in the Star Killer because he just finished filming Force Unleashed 2. so he was like, Dave Filoni caught him because he was like struggling with the lines. He's like, hey, since the sun is the embodiment of the dark side, can't you do all the Sith voices? So he started going into like a little bit of Vader, a little bit of Maul, a little bit of Dooku. He started doing every like type of Sith. So like if you pay attention to the way he delivers his lines, he starts dipping into basically all the Sith throughout the entire arc.
Oh, I never noticed that. But yeah, so Gray and DePaul, awesome comments on the daughter and the son. And then to final it out, to reel it all in, the father, who went first? Gray, I think you went first last time? Or
Yeah, Gray went first.
I think
ladies first.
Thank you, right? The father, kind of the same thing. What are your overall thoughts? What are some, like, just some deep, let's deep dive.
When the father died, he disappeared, like a Jedi disappeared. But when the son and daughter died, their bodies stayed. Dave Filoni specifically said that the son and the daughter are actual beings, but he did not state the father was a being. So he was probably like the Force himself, in my opinion, because he's not a being. So I think that's because he was the Force and he had to control the light and the dark side to keep balance. That's my thought.
Yeah, for sure. Paul?
I agree with the concept, and just the fact that around the father, he being the balance and having to balance everything out. You know, the being the king of his castle, the head of his household, and make sure everything stayed in order. It was interesting how he felt like he needed a successor of the chosen one to do that, but and it chose Anakin to do it because I'm like, yeah, being the father and knowing what you can do, can't you sustain your life force? Can't you, like, I mean, like, wouldn't you be like immortal? But at the same time, hey, you know, I guess they have their own ways. But I would love to saw more of what he could have done, like just as power wise, and what like was possible, what he's capable of. But yeah, I mean, overall, to me, I saw him as the balanced one who's kept balance for everything. He's like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. No, I'm not letting you go out of whack too much. No, you have to come over here, going back to kids. Hey, nope, don't do that. And no, you can't do this. And just having order.
Yeah, and what's interesting is like why all of a sudden did he need a successor?
Mm.
It just yeah. I don't know. That's probably one of the most interesting thing is that why is this all powerful being who can do anything? Why does he need someone to take his place? I don't know.
Too, like if he's the the balance, and Anakin's also a vergence in the Force, and the Force does certain things like that. Like, did he help create Anakin? Well, you know, like, or like what happened? Like, does another vergence can help create another vergence? Like, is it the will? Does it break off? Like, how does that work? I think it's just, it leaves a lot more questions, and I would love for them to do more arcs or explore more about this in comics or whatever they could do. But yeah, I mean, it could be, yeah, it's just got you thinking.
Yeah, it leaves a lot of doors open that hopefully get explored in the future.
Yeah. To expand on like DePaul's thought, wow, I never like thought of it like that because I never even noticed that like his body disappeared. I've always thought he just decayed like everybody else. So, because the way it happens is just so chaotic. You're just like so paying attention to like the son's reaction to him dying. So like I never even like was paying attention to his body just completely disappearing. So wow, that's and the thought of like the Force basically calling to Anakin to hear because it is the will of the Force itself. I never even thought of that angle ever. That's an interesting like analogy to the Mortis arc in general. So yeah, I never thought about that.
If you think about it, the father could Jedi, just like Anakin was chosen as the chosen one and Lord there to take over for another person who would have been the father at that time, because when the arc first started, they were drawn to the Mortis world, triangle world,
Yeah.
diamond world, by a 2,000-year-old Jedi distress call. Or did he get the Jedi distress call? 2,000-year-old. Nobody uses that old of a distress call, so I thought that was something that needs to be on.
That's a very good.
And when Jedi die, they disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that like you wonder, could that distress call have been when the father was taking over for someone else and then the exact same events happened, but maybe the father, a young father, could have taken over?
But that would explain why he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's old. Maybe he's given all this power, but eternal. I think anybody.
Yeah, and after 2,000 years, it needed his spot to be replaced. And in real quick, in the chat, just to shout some of you guys out, we have Element 7, Neppy, Brian with the Beard, Drew H, and am I missing anyone?
No,
And Pods One Podcast. Thank you guys all for joining. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all the love that's being thrown.
absolutely. So yeah, I think that's a good transition point to talk a little bit more in depth. So we briefly talked on it a little bit earlier, but I want to bring it back to that. I'm interested to talk about how the son, the father, and the daughter like affect the realm that is Mortis or planet, depending on like how you guys view it. Because like when they first arrive, it's completely in the light, and then when she dies, it's like darkness just completely takes over it. So I want to ask you guys like your thoughts on that, and you guys have any theories about how that works and where that goes with. We'll go with Gray again because ladies first, like Paul said.
So I think with the way that the Mortis world works is in the daily cycle is an entire birth to death. So everything's birthed every day in the light and on with this day, and then when the dark comes, dies. And it starts all over every day. And it just seemed like a little thing that would be very strange on the world, having the daughter and the son and the father controlling them, and then everything's light and dark. So I thought the birth and death would have fit that.
Yeah, for sure. Paul?
That makes sense. Like they say now, like, nothing's never really gone, so it makes perfect sense what you just said there. And yeah, just like the cycle of life, circle of life. And with the force and everything, it's the will of the force. So it's going to keep on coming back to life and death. It's part of the cycle. It has to happen. But yeah, I mean, it's weird. I mean, it's weird, but it's not, because a lot of it is like based off of just what's present. Meaning that when you said the daughter was killed and she wasn't there anymore, you just saw darkness and death, and it wasn't nothing that really came back. But when she was there, it was that balance that had to happen. So it's just it looks more like a metaphor. Because if something, if something doesn't keep on happening, how to have that balance, it's going to throw everything off. So it's hard to say how much they have an effect on the whole planet as a whole, or there's more to it, because now that they're not there, does it still exist? But then again, we can say the same thing, because Anakin was a virgin in the Force, and he's not there. But is there going to be another virgin like him, another chosen one later on? So that's my question about how they affect the planet or Mortis. It's like now that they're gone, deceased, is it still actually existing?
Seems like Rey is the next Palpatine and put the Force into balance again, just like Vader killed Palpatine balance.
And the Force chose her through a clone body because her father was an unaltered clone of Palpatine, so that was non-Force sensitive. So if you kind of think about it, she isn't like an exact virgin's birth with like that, but I kind of view it as that because of the way it works.
Because they said that clones couldn't be Force sensitive, but then she was, so something to have changed that.
Yeah.
Maybe she and one.
Yeah, and it's definitely all a metaphor because to me, I feel like it's symbolizing that the Force is not always going to be light. The Force is not always going to be dark, but going to be constantly going through this rotation, um, as time passes, and eventually it's going to go from darkness to the light once the light rises again. Personally, I think that's kind of how or why that is a thing. Hereth?
Yeah, that absolutely just nails my point. I was actually gonna bring up back to the planet of how it affects. When Gray was describing that, what made me think of was the scene in Last Jedi when Luke is talking about like the cycle of Octu when they're talking about life, death, decay, planet grows. Like that's what my mind instantly went to now thinking about that because
I was trying not to turn into a sequel show, so I wasn't trying to.
no, I don't know. I feel like it naturally just kind of goes there because like the way Luke describes Octu is kind of very similar to how Mortis is like shown in the arc. So yeah, I wanted to make that parallel out there. So
But you wonder now that they're not there, is Mortis even a thing
I
anymore?
don't think so.
I don't think
I
so
think
either.
it all started
Yeah,
crushing, and with that bright light, I
Mortis is just gone.
thought
No more Mortis.
yeah, I feel like yeah, I kind of agree. The realm of Mortis is gone.
Any closing statements on that?
On the planet and the how it
I
affects the
feel like
realm.
DePaul looks like he's about to say something.
Yeah, so just around how the father, son, and the daughter affect the planets of Mortis. So something I did notice is that when you use the Force, when Anakin uses the Force, and some things that people are saying too, emotions enhances on especially on that vergence, the Mortis, is that it enhances the Force ability. So the fact that Anakin is powerful, one of the most powerful Force users ever, and he was able to tame the son and the daughter. It's just like, okay, cool. So it's just because of that area, because now your Force abilities or your power in the Force is going to be enhanced. So that was something that I thought about. I was like, okay, that's a question I have, but we'd love to hear if that's if possible or if that's actually a thing that happened over there. That's why Anakin was able to do that, or that's why the father saw that potential in him. Like, well, you're able to do this, so yes, you are the chosen one, and yes, this could enhance your powers.
Yeah. Yeah, but I wonder why we didn't get like Obi-Wan's enhanced powers unless Obi-Wan there was nothing left for him to kind of um get enhanced. You know what I mean?
I get 100%. I think I thought about the same thing. I was like, well, Ahsoka and Anakin, they really didn't do anything different. But I'm like, well, and sorry, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan didn't do anything different. But then again, this is the chosen one. I mean, Anakin, I don't really think that he truly tapped into his full potential ever. He held back. He was afraid of. He was more on that selfish route. I don't want to go on to that part, but like I said, it was just thoughts in my head when I first saw it. I was like, huh, I wonder if that's possible or if that's a thing right now.
Yeah, and you hear on the internet, especially on TikTok, like full potential Anakin versus full potential Luke
Oh my
or
god.
whatever. You're like, maybe Mortis Anakin could have maybe been full potential Anakin as much as those things. I don't agree with like those videos in general, but that would probably be full potential Anakin.
That's probably the closest we'll ever get to it, but I kind of agree. Those videos are really stupid.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I have never seen Anakin's at potential always.
yeah.
But I feel like that's also another good transition point to transition into since we're talking about like the Force and how like Mortis is like affecting them, do you guys think the illusions given to Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka have any type of like meaning, or are they just like illusions by the father, son, and the daughter, just to push them onto their forbidden path?
Yeah.
We'll start
Wait,
with
and
Paul.
real quick, just in case you guys the viewers haven't seen Mortis in a while, after the daughter kind of leads them, they get separated, and then they all see a different Force illusion. So yeah, let's start with the Paul.
I, visions always mean something.
Yeah, let's talk about Anakin first. Anakin's vision with his mother.
So, Anakin's vision. So, yes, I believe that it's. You might call me crazy a little bit, but hear me out. Visions all mean something. Whether it's even we have visions in life, we call them dreams. They a lot of times Jedi's call them dreams too. Anakin, every time he had a vision, he was sleeping most of the time. He woke up in a cold sweat. It was always something dark and bad that happened that we heard, the visions that we heard. So with this one on the Mortis, he was having visions of something that was a turmoil that he was afraid of a fear, and because of that fear, I would say enhanced that vision, and is just telling as a Force saying, "Hey, this is going to cause you to go down this path. Don't do this." But it wasn't saying don't do this. He just said as that's what's going to happen. I got to do everything I can in my power not to go that way. So the visions I think, had a big part to play, and with his psyche alone, and just how it was going to shape a lot of things. But I don't think it took a toll on how the results of what happened on the Mortis at that time played out. His whole purpose was just to get his friends and get out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like his whole purpose was just he was so focused on like getting back to Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. He wasn't really, because this is before his conversation with the father about you're the one, and him like igniting his lightsaber. So yeah, at that point, it was Anakin's intentions were pure. I would agree with that.
Yeah, and he runs out of the room and goes, "What are you, a Sith?" He says that to the father. What kind of sorcery is this? And yeah, clearly, like he was thinking about nothing else other than, I'm trapped in a castle with a weird guy that looks like a funky wizard, and I just saw my mom who died. So something isn't right here. I need to get off. But if he was looking more at the bigger picture, then our results may have not been the same with Anakin in general. And Gray, if you want to talk.
When Anakin saw his vision, didn't his mom see the sun out the window? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for the visions, as far as what I got out of it, is the brother gave everybody their visions. Anakin, the other one, the other visions were to get them out of his way. So he was like, Ahsoka's adult self was like, your master is gonna lead you down the wrong way, get away. And Obi-Wan, the similar like one. So I think the brother just gave him those visions to get them out of the way so that he could control of Anakin.
Yeah, I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah,
I would say definitely that's why.
Yeah, because you see like I remember if you correctly right before Shmi shows up, you see like the sun, because like his embodiment is like a bat, and you see the bat fly like right past the the little castle, and you see Shmi show up.
Well, Shmi transforms into the brother.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the very end of the vision.
So I think he was the one controlling all the visions. The father said specifically that the son could change his form into many forms.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. DePaul?
No, I was agreeing. That makes sense. I forgot that the sun actually flew out the window after he turned not Shmi, of his mom. So I was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, and that makes sense. I mean, if he's just manipulating them just to get them to be weaker and use that fear against him, then that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then that's Bridge. I know Gray kind of touched on it just a little bit, but Ahsoka's vision. So we have Ahsoka's older self talking around the fire because Ahsoka's kind of camped out, and across the fire she sees her older self saying, "Beware, your master is leading you down the wrong path." I think we started the Paul last time, so Gray.
Same thing. I just think that it was the son trying to get her to leave and not help, and to, he kind of turned against it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that for the Ahsoka one, because just for the fact that like I agree with you 100% on that one, but at the same time, how everything played out, because looking from how we see it as the audience, it was like, okay, well, that vision was going right. I was like, okay, and about that vision is like just seeing Ahsoka like in that way, like her first calls wasn't that long. I was like, okay, that's a different version. At first, I didn't even think that was Ahsoka. I thought it was somebody else, just like either her mother or something like that, or I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But like, no, that's Ahsoka. Okay, but yeah, I think that one could have been. I was actually considering thinking that the daughter gave her that vision. The light side.
That's a good take. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see that happening.
because we don't see the son at all. Anakin's we saw like distinct. Obviously, it was the son, but we don't see the daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. To also transition into Obi-Wan's with Qui-Gon's Force Ghost appearing. We'll start with DePaul since we did great last time. What are your thoughts on that one? Obi-Wan seeing quote unquote his late master, or we don't know.
Exactly. I mean, I thought it was cool, and it kind of felt appropriate just because it was on Mortis after everything you're seeing. Like, oh, okay, well, this is the area that's very powerful in the Force, and to see Qui-Gon talk to Obi-Wan, I was like, how the hell did Obi-Wan actually feel like holy crap? Like even his father was like, he's on the defense, like, oh wait. But seriously, if you saw like the way that Obi-Wan reacted in the Phantom Menace when he saw Qui-Gon die, compared to this, like, yes, he probably had time to mourn, but at the same time, I was like, okay. I mean, I thought he had a different reaction than just been completely on guard. But I guess that's Obi-Wan. He's always prepared, just ready, ready to go. I thought it was. I can't even say that it was. Yeah, it was interesting because not like going deep into it. It was just like, okay, well, if anywhere Qui-Gon's going to reach out to Obi-Wan, it's here.
Yeah.
Like, cool. That was pretty much my only thoughts. That.
And Gray?
I definitely think that because it is such a space in the Force, and if it wasn't the brother, that it could be Qui-Gon, because he was the one to protect himself as the ghost. Yoda and Yoda is Obi-Wan. And
Yeah, and I think it would make sense since the daughter could have possibly been Ahsoka's. The son was Anakin's, and then Obi-Wan's was neither, and was just actually Qui-Gon.
I actually might have a different take. So if we're going by this logic of the son goes to Anakin, the daughter goes to Ahsoka, I honestly think the entire time we see Qui-Gon through Mortis, I think it's the father. I think he's trying to amplify and guide Anakin to certain places, and like when Anakin shows up and Qui-Gon appears originally there too, and then you have Obi-Wan with Qui-Gon, I think it's just the father trying to be the guiding hand between the two. And he's using Qui-Gon as because he knows that it would work for both Obi-Wan and Anakin. So I think my theory would be it's the father. I could see it maybe even just being the Qui-Gon's voice, but the father is amplifying Qui-Gon's Force Ghost onto it.
It's a good take because a lot of people see Qui-Gon as that father figure and saying that their theory is that the whole thing about Anakin is that what happened if Qui-Gon wouldn't have died. He that's one of the reasons why people say that. I don't think this one, but people say that if Qui-Gon didn't die, Anakin probably wouldn't have failed. Could maybe, but going from like losing Qui-Gon, somebody who's supposed to be like the father figure, and just to save you from slavery, it's like okay, great.
I 100.
What's that?
Wait, could you repeat that? Your
Sorry
mic
about
cut
that.
out.
No,
You're good.
what did you say?
I 100% think that if Qui-Gon was alive, he would not have fallen to the dark side. I was just trying to agree with you.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just it's interesting. So I'm like, I lost my train of thought.
It
Oh no, you're
happens.
all good. I don't know about you guys, so I'm a pretty big Narnia fan. And
Okay.
whenever I heard Liam Neeson, I was like, "This is Aslan." Like like yes, Liam Neeson sounds like something like Liam Neeson, but with like the echoey, I was like, "That is exactly Aslan." Anyway, I don't know if any of you guys have even seen Narnia's, but they're great movies.
Gigantic fan. Huge
Really?
fan.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
books. I just
Anything
listened to
fancy
all
like
of them recently.
Oh really?
Like
Yeah,
3 months ago.
Oh wow. Yeah,
I have all the books.
I have like original or they're probably not original, but they're like my mom's from when she was a kid, and like I would read them when I was in like second grade. But anyway, back to Star Wars. Hereth?
Yeah, so in the similar vein to the illusions, I feel like as a whole, I'm gonna ask this: how does Mortis, like, in your opinion, like mirror the overall saga as we see the events play out of like Anakin's vision and of like him seeing himself as Darth Vader, and I would even like not even just extend it just beyond the saga. I would even say to the other animated shows of Rebels and The Mandalorian, even though we got a little bit of that.
And honestly, I think we should probably let's do it big event by big event because I feel like that's like a lot. You know what I mean, Hereth?
Oh, yeah.
So do you guys want to let's talk about the Anakin's first test because I think that's kind of the first big event, or one like a huge event that happens. So obviously, just a refresher for anyone that hasn't watched Mortis in a while. The father calls in Anakin to almost a test to see if he is the chosen one, and Anakin completely like demolishes and takes control, in better words, of the son and the daughter. So who went first last time?
I believe Gray did, so with whichever. No, I think DePaul did. It was DePaul did, so I think Gray should go first. Am I right in that? Yeah.
Yes.
Wasn't he? I loved the test. It was one of my favorite parts of the entire Mortis arc. Watching Anakin realize that he could control them. I think it verified the chosen one. I think it was a much bigger part of Star Wars than it is made seem. It was a huge deal. Control them. Brilliant test. That's the one where he gained control of them as when they had Ahsoka and Obi-Wan.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. He like well, at first, the father made him choose. He's like, okay, you can either save Ahsoka or save Obi-Wan, and then Anakin just goes beast mode and saves both of them.
I don't even think the father expected.
No, I don't. I think he expected him to take control, but not like that. To Paul.
So it's funny you mentioned like how the you asked the question about how the Mortis art mirrors the events. So I want to touch on the Phantom Menace. Qui-Gon, his first, well, I should say Anakin's his challenge was the pod racing. He never did pod racing before he met Qui-Gon. He worked on everything. Oh, did he? I won't say never, but he worked on the stuff. He created his own pod. He did say he didn't. He never won a race, right?
No, yeah.
Okay. So, but then when that was his first challenge, and that was Qui-Gon's way to see. Let's see if this boy is a chosen one can do it. Yeah, we got the midichlorian count and all that stuff like that, but let's see if he can actually do this, and the Force will guide him and give him those instincts that he needs to win this race. That was his first challenge in the Phantom Menace. And then the Mortis, same thing. The father gave him the test. Okay, well, we'll test this out. And if you can tame my children, yes, you are that one. you that one that can take care of this. So that was his challenge. And like I said, not just saying, oh, pick this one or pick that one. Pick your friend or pick your Padawan or your master or your student. He said, to hell with that, I'm doing both. And that's why the father was like, oh, okay, yeah. You that one. All right, let's do this. So, and it's just like that's right there was kind of cool. And the fact that we were saying that maybe the father was when it came to Obi-Wan as Qui-Gon gave Anakin his first test too, with the whole pod racing. So it was pretty cool. I mean, how that's tied in like that, if you look at it like that. But yeah, I mean, throughout, outside of that event right there, I want to move on.
Yeah, that's actually an amazing. I've never thought of it like that. That the father is testing Anakin the same way that Qui-Gon was testing Anakin.
Yeah, I never thought about that either. That's actually an interesting angle.
Huh. Yeah, jeez. Oh, man. Yeah, those are great points by both you guys. And the next big test or so, Hereth, you want to take it away?
No, you can take it again.
Okay. So, as we kind of move on, I guess the next major thing that would happen, because obviously Anakin kind of tames both of them, as you would say, and then the son takes over Ahsoka, and we see Anakin and Ahsoka have a duel, which no one ever really talks about that, but I think it's really, really interesting. Well, Ahsoka gets captured, sorry, and then she meets the little Dobby-looking guy in the in the cave, which turns out to be the son, and then she gets enchanted with by the son. And let's see, they have their duel, and Obi-Wan goes to meet with the father, and then the son's like, hey, you might want to go check. I forget what he said, but it was really like snarky. He's like, yeah, you might want to go check on them. And then he goes outside, sees that, and then I believe the daughter goes and takes Obi-Wan to the dagger, correct?
That's after the son pushes the father down the stairs.
Yes. Yeah, if you guys want to touch on that at all. I don't know if there's not really much to touch on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the son. Yeah, you're right. And then so we start to see the son kind of take control of the father already. And then yeah, I guess the next big thing we should talk about would be the dagger, correct? Right, Hereth?
Yeah, I would say the dagger that the daughter leads Obi-Wan to, and yeah, that eventual payoff of how it is, and how it's kind of like a weird mirror to the dagger and Rise of Skywalker, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys, because to me, I feel like that dagger has a lot more meaning than just a dagger to help them get out of the situation. But I want to hear your guys. Gray, if you want to go first.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I didn't sit much on the dagger. I didn't have a lot to say about it because it didn't click as being something that important. It was just more symbolic of, how to, of death. That was the
Okay.
only thing I got out of it.
To Paul.
I do concur with that one. I tried to look at the meaning into that's something about me. I analyze the shit out of stuff. and I tried to find the meaning into that dagger. I'm like, okay, use it to sever stuff. And that's the only thing I could think about. I was like, but like I don't really see that much of a meaning because yes, Obi-Wan was the one who retrieved the dagger, and the light side of the Force guided him through it. Is that saying he had to like get that piece to sever the ties between him and Anakin? I was reaching everywhere. I just didn't make sense to me. I was like, it's just there to kill them. Like that's what it is. That's why like, whoa, the father was so mad. Like you showed him this, like that's how you kill the Force. You don't mess. No, that's
like the nuclear option.
Yeah. But other
Don't
than
push that
like,
button.
exactly. Don't nuke us. But besides that, I didn't really see any significance for the Team Skywalker, you want to call it that.
So
But
now
yeah,
I'm dying to know what you think.
So, to me, now I could be over analyzing this, but in my eyes, so the daughter guided Obi-Wan specifically to the dagger. And to me, that's the light side of the Force. Well, okay. We see that dagger gets taken from Obi-Wan and basically kills the daughter, and the dark side takes over. To me, that dagger is symbolizing how close Obi-Wan kind of was to stopping the dark side, and then for it to then be taken away from him in like a split second, and how close he was. Because if you think about it, I mean, obviously he was at Anakin as a burnt chicken nugget on the on the ashes of Mustafar. So that dagger is kind of symbolizing how close he was to bringing the light side of the Force. And I mean that's kind of what I thought, was just that it kind of symbolizes how close Obi-Wan really was, and then how he failed.
I feel that the Mortis arc is an allegory for the entire Star Wars saga, so that fits
Yes.
perfectly.
Yeah, and that's like exactly why. Just because there's so much foreshadowing, I was like, okay, this has to mean something, and
Yeah.
especially because it's with Obi-Wan and how close he was. That's kind of right where my mind went to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also like to highlight Element's comment of I see the dagger as more of a Force sever. It was an EU concept of serving one's connection to the Force, and since they are avatars of the Force, that would be the only way to kill them.
Nice one, Element.
Yeah. That. Yeah, that is an awesome comment. Also, welcome X-Core Gamer Skills to Paul's Dyad. Welcome Cal Fourier. Thank you for stopping by. Justin Thornton, thank you so much for stopping by. And yes, Cal, they do fly now.
But honestly, since it's kind of near the same train of thought, I also would like to transition into the Force transfers with Anakin transferring the daughter's life into Ahsoka, since it happens pretty close together, and how it's kind of similar to how we see Force healing in The Rise of Skywalker again in The Mandalorian. So I would hear your thoughts on that.
ladies first.
So the father had to help Anakin with that. He didn't know how to do it. He didn't do it on his own. It wasn't something that any Jedi have used up until then. It was like the father was just through the Force using him as a conduit to do it. I don't believe Anakin did it, and I don't believe it's like the Force healing from the sequel trilogy, which I love. I actually like all that stuff. I just don't think this is that.
Yeah.
I agree. Oh my gosh, I agree. I'm glad you said it, because people confuse that so much, and they don't look at that. That was it it's force healing, but Anakin couldn't do it. And the reason why is because Ahsoka was dead. That was a transfer. And like you said, Anakin was just a conduit. Say, hey, hold on, we're going to take it. I was like, I'm going to take this, take her the rest of her essence, her force essence, her life essence, because that's what you use to heal when it comes to healing the force. Use a bit of your essence, your life essence. Through the force, you're transferring it in healing. That's why even in the last the Rise of Skywalker, Rey was over her hand because it tingled, it hurt.
So in that way, it is like it, but it wasn't Anakin doing it, right?
Exactly, it wasn't. It was 100% wasn't Anakin doing it. It was a father saying, "I'm going to use you as an IV to transfer this transfusion through you because you are powerful enough to withstand this. So here we go. Let's transfer this life essence before it flickers out into Ahsoka." So I 100% agree with you on that one. So and yeah, a lot of people don't get that. They miss that part in the Mortis arc when they say, "Oh, where the hell did force healing come from?" Like everybody didn't know how to do this. Some people just didn't want to do it because they knew the purpose of it.
Yeah.
I like the new stuff when they show new stuff with the Force, and I don't know why everybody gets their panties in a bunch about it. It's like the Force is this like thing that can do anything, so why would people get mad if it does something that was out, that you didn't learn about so far?
I nailed it.
I mean, until just now, I never really thought of it that way. If I'm being honest, I probably had that option on. I made a TikTok about that a few weeks ago about that being similar to Ray's, but yeah, I was definitely wrong.
Yeah. That's why I use the word force transference. That's how I kind of view it as. And with you guys' train of thoughts, yeah, I could see that. I just use the force healing because it's very similar, so I just kind of use that as like a allegory to like mirror it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, technically it's a type, but the fact that the matter is that it wasn't his own life essence. It was somebody else's, and no one can do that. I think the only one can do an essence. I think we'll get to that one is Palpatine, but he wasn't transferring his own essence. It was somebody else's essence to a different body. So you call it a resurrection, whatever you want to call it, but or resurrection. But technically, that can be looked at as a dark side ability because you're taking the life out of one thing and putting it into the other. So you're not. It's like a loophole from from using your own life essence. But so yeah, so that's just my thought about that. But I mean, I like Gray, 100% with you on that one, girl.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to just point out in the chat, Cal Fourier just agreeing with Gray, and I see Gray already responded to it. He said, "More Star Wars is good. Star Wars lore expansion is just cool." Exactly. We don't need to see Rey learning every single power.
I grew up with like no TV, and I wasn't able to grow up watching any of this stuff. And so I'm happy to get it and get new stuff. And I think with having nothing for so long, it makes me appreciate what we get more than people who just are used to it and had it their whole lives and want to get their panties in a bunch over something when I had nothing, and so I love it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I really like the analogy that T'Pol said that kind of from the daughter to Ahsoka. I really like that analogy. It kind of hits.
Yeah.
Then do you want to touch on Ahsoka at all? Because that's kind of a big thing, Ahsoka, that she is the living embodiment of the daughter.
Who you talking to me or?
I want to hit you, Gray, with this one because you would have an interesting analysis of this.
Because of everything behind her. Yes.
So I do not think that the daughter is that Ahsoka and the daughter are living embodiments, because that would be like Rey would be the living embodiment of Kylo. The baby Yoda healed that guy, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head. And so then, or he would have been the living embodiment of that guy. So I don't think that's how it works. I believe that when the daughter had Morai, which is her spirit guide, familiar, not quite sure, and I think that she gave the rest of her life force. So that's what killed the daughter completely. So that Ahsoka got that life force, and maybe that makes her a little more on the good side. I'm not sure because it was a special being, but I believe that Morai is just the spirit guide of the daughter for Ahsoka, and I don't believe Ahsoka has any embodiments of the daughter.
Yeah, it's definitely a better way to put it than embodiment, for sure. DePaul?
I agree. I agree with her on this one because it's not Ahsoka's not the embodiment of the light side. I would say, just for the fact that she has the essence of the daughter in her first essence in her from the transfer. Morai is just like, okay, I'm your spirit guide. I'm your avatar now because that was my people. That's my person. So I still can sense her in you, and you're still there. I mean, it's like animals do that now. Like when something passed, and my wife, mother passed away a while ago, and she had, thank you. It was some time ago. But she had a dog, and my wife inherited the dog. But the dog took to my wife so well after that passing, and I was like, animals can sense that, and because of that bond and that connection that was still there, and hell, even maybe Morai was using Ahsoka as a coping mechanism too, from losing her master. So it's just many ways you can look at it. It's like, I'm gonna be here with you because I sense and I like that force essence that you have, and now that my master had, and now that you have it, I'm gonna keep on following you because she doesn't like really give her any kind of magical powers. She just flies around and appears when Ahsoka comes.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's definitely an awesome way to put it. And in the chat, Element 7 says, "Don't think Ahsoka is the living embodiment of her daughter, but rather a paragon of her light." That's like,
There you go. That's a good one.
that is the perfect way to kind of say that. So thank you, Element 7. That's definitely. X-Core says, yes, Ahsoka simply gravitates toward the light. I think Anakin did a force transfer to take the life source from the daughter to Ahsoka, and this is in a form of force healing. Says Padawan's podcast. Definitely.
Agreed. And then Cal was saying, "Oh, to Paul, my heart," and the chat was like a lot of thoughts in between.
Yeah. Hereth, if you want to transition.
Yeah. So we already touched on a lot of this. So I would say I wouldn't say it's really a test, but it's more of the sun luring Anakin down into the dark cave and showing him what he could become. I really wanted to touch on, but like the sun showing Anakin the vision of his potential future, and like what are you guys' thoughts on that? And because it's in the same vein of like how does it mirror the saga as a whole? So I'll go with DePaul first again.
Okay. So about that, it's just what the sun show Anakin is crazy, and I think it's really scared the crap out of Anakin because he couldn't believe, like no, that's not, no, I can't do that, and it just Anakin, his whole life was based off of fear, so he wants to avoid anything that's gonna be a downfall or an issue for him in the long run. So he's afraid of that, losing people, losing his mom, losing Qui-Gon, losing Padme. That's his fear. So when the son's showing all this stuff, it's all it's doing is messing with his psyche even more. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And it's causing it's creating more darkness and putting more darkness in, or say enhancing more of the darkness inside of him, because that fear is just enhancing, and he's going off of that emotion because that's the whole dark side thing, right? Emotion, passion, and he's passionate not to fall down that and lose other people that he loves. So something that's interesting when he like every time the son gives him like sights and or visions and messes with his head is that and in little events you can actually hear Vader breathing out of Anakin. Certain events, like if you listen real close to certain, like when he tamed both of the daughter and the son, when he fell to his knees, you hear him breathe, and it's Vader's breathing mechanism.
Oh.
You could also hear some of Hayden Christensen's lines from the prequels as Vader.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, you hear Matt Lanter do some of the Revenge of the Sith lines, like "I hate you" and that kind of stuff.
It's so crazy. It's like, oh wow, and those little details, and you don't really pay attention because you hear the music and you see how action you copy to it, but there you hear Vader's voice in there. His not his voice, but his little pieces of Vader coming out right then and there and being developed.
And I 100% agree with that. And then to add to it is Anakin has always wanted power. Always. I mean, when he was talking to Padme in the field where they were riding those weird little cow-looking things, and he's like, well, they need to be made to see the way I think things should be run. And then when he killed Padme, he's like, our empire. You know, he's scared of things, and also he's power hungry, or every chance Anakin gets, he doesn't just flip to the dark side. You know, it took the son a minute to turn him to the dark side. It took Palpatine a minute to turn him to the dark side. Anakin is, no matter what, would have fall. I mean, he just gravitates to the dark side. It's like he could trip and fall into the dark side.
Yeah,
which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I've never noticed that. Next time I would watch it, I'm gonna definitely be listening for Vader's respirator.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's crazy. When I watched it 2 weeks ago, I was like, holy crap! It's like, and there's multiple scenes of it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Also, you hear a little bit of Obi-Wan saying, "You're my brother, Anakin." It's like he slashes at the screen and that kind of stuff. You also hear Padme, or it's like Anakin don't, and like all the basically everything from Mustafar is pretty much heard.
And then, of course, we see the big giant Vader head over Anakin as he's whatever he's saying there.
He's screaming no, pretty much. It's pretty much the mirror of when he becomes Vader after his birth. It's kind of like a mirror to that scene.
Yeah, and that really connects towards everything in the saga and how eventually Anakin, some obviously great foreshadowing, how Anakin will eventually turn to the dark side. And then I think that's a good transition that his mind and memory gets wiped of all that, and he forgets everything that happened. So hypothetically,
just what the brother showed him in that vision, not everything that happened on Mortis.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I meant. So hypothetically, if Anakin hadn't had his mind erased, what do you believe would have happened, and do you think it would have changed anything? Gray?
I think it would have changed everything. I think him and the brother would have gotten off, or the son would have gotten off the planet. I believe that they would have gone and killed Sidious and taken over the entire galaxy.
Ooh.
Bold statement.
That's what I believe.
You went in a different direction. I was gonna say yeah. I was like, then you said the last part, like, oh, good point. Yes. I was like, yes, okay, great. We're on the same page. Just went to a different path.
Oh, because they would be the rule of tools too. Still, they would have to get rid of Sidious to keep with the Sith's rule of two.
Correct. No, yeah, it would have changed 100% everything but Anakin would have still became dark, no matter what.
Hmm.
He would have took out the Jedi. He would have tried to conquer the Jedi. He was he and he yeah. It would have been all bad.
I think Qui-Gon's the only thing that would have ever kept Anakin from turning to the dark side.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would argue maybe a little bit of Ahsoka as well. If she, I don't know how much she could have affected if she stayed, but I still think she maybe would have made a little bit of an impact.
I agree with that too, yes.
But definitely the most would be Qui-Gon. And then, obviously, everything happening in his life kind of nudges him to the dark side.
Yeah.
But yeah, personally, I think it definitely would have sped up the process of him turning dark if remember that vision going forward. Hereth?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with everyone with that point of, I think Anakin and the brother would have escaped off the planet, or the son would have escaped off the, like, Mortis. They would have gone to Coruscant. They would have purged the temple. And then they would have killed Sidious. I don't think how much Yoda would stand a chance against them.
Mm-mm.
Probably nothing.
I think. Then, yeah.
I mean, Yoda lost against Sidious, and I believe Sidious would lose against them in hand-to-hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the son would definitely be able to kill them since Anakin
Well,
would be the only one to really tame.
I would like to add as well, if you think about it, he would also not only have to go against, he would have to go against the entire Jedi Council. Because remember, Order 66 wiped out Ki-Adi-Mundi, what am I forgetting? Plo Koon, and like a bunch of other Jedi. If you think about that from that angle, he would have to face Mace Windu, Plo Koon, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Yoda, Mace. It was like, he would have to go against pretty much everybody. I think that would also kind of stack the odds a little bit in the Jedi's favor too, because it would be. I think it would be Mace and Yoda versus Anakin and the Son. I think that kind of changes the tide, and I think Mace versus the Son would be an interesting battle because Mace would. I think because if Mace can handle Sidious, I think Mace can handle the Son, and I think Yoda can handle Anakin.
How long after the Mortis arc did Order 66 happen? Does anybody know that?
2 years? Anyone in the chat know?
Years down the road.
Yeah, like 2 years.
1.5
Clone
years.
Wars was all mixed up, so I don't know if the Mortis
Yeah.
arc should have been in the later, timeline. Because if that went through and then they went and killed the Emperor, there would be nothing stopping them.
Ahsoka looked pretty young in the Mortis arc
Yeah.
still. And then when she when the Order 66 came, she was a little more mature. Like just her looks and everything is like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I know from when Ahsoka leaves the Order to Siege of Mandalore, it's a 6-month gap because it's the Outer Rim sieges that happen between that. So I know there's 6 months.
Probably a year at least.
Yeah, I would say.
Probably around 2 years or so.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Okay.
Just 'cause Ahsoka looks a few years. And like her mentality is definitely a few years just mature.
But it's also their updated attire for season 3, 4, and 5. It's not that.
He
Yeah.
is in the updated clothes and height and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna highlight X-Core's message. He says no one can stand against the Anakin and the Son feeding it off each other on the dark side. It wouldn't be the Battle of the Sabers. Luke says, or Lagan says, I would say it's in year 2 of the Clone Wars. So yeah, so I'd say there's a 1-year gap between that and the Siege in Order 66 potentially happening. So it moves a little bit more forward in the timeline. But also, I never thought about this. They would not have access to the clone troopers unless Sidious gave them the order.
Right. It would have to be Sidious would have to enact 66 first, because nobody else would be able to enact that.
Yeah. Oh.
Would Sidious still? Because Anakin would have to be very strategic, because the Son would know that Sidious would be on the dark side, so they would have to somehow strategically come up with a plan to almost. I would think that Anakin would go to the dark side with Sidious, and then he could do Order 66, and then the Son could throw a curveball into things, kind of say, actually, no, you're done, Sidious.
Yeah, and also you gotta also factor in Maul potentially being alive. Well, no, wait, this is before Maul comes back. Oh, Maul is still in the pit.
Yeah, this is before. This is like a 2 seasons before.
And then you got Dooku still. So it'd be Dooku and Sidious versus Anakin and the Son.
It'd be everyone versus Anakin the Son.
Pretty much.
The Separatists versus. Oh my gosh! Yeah, they might not take.
It'd be like very much an all-out battle royale, pretty much.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be. You're right. It would be probably the Separatists, the clones, Dooku, Mace, Palpatine, Yoda, everyone in the Jedi Council.
Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, if they find a way to get off Mortis with the help of the Father.
Yeah. If Anakin turned to the dark side there, I don't think.
I think that entire combined force. I should change my mind. I think that entire combined force, if everyone could like drop their stuff and work together, I think they would potentially have a chance.
I'm sure they would.
And that would create a weird dynamic of them working together to kind of defeat the Son and Anakin.
So it's probably been funny though, because like if Anakin would have joined with Son, he came out the Mortis, and this is the only reason I think that Palpatine had the plans he had, or City as we will call him, because he couldn't detect that what happened in the Mortis. He couldn't detect that darkness. So, once the Son would have came out, he would have felt that presence of that darkness. Oh, what the hell is that? And he probably would have tried to recruit him. If not, knowing Sidious, he probably would have went to the Jedi, saying, "Hey, blah blah blah. I think something's going on," and playing like weaving another web or something like that to team up with the Jedi to push them more towards like, "Hey, y'all need to do this. Y'all need to do this," and like playing the whole puppet thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he probably would have like, nope, Anakin gotta go. Now.
It'd be like the force is imbalanced. We got to change things up.
Yep.
And the father did say that they lived in the regular world for a while, and he moved his children to that place when he saw how strong they were in the force. So at one point they were in the world, which one thing I did notice is, you guys know the symbol for the Mortis. It's got the circle with the little spikes this way and the spikes this way, and then the
it's like a holocron.
Four. Those are that exact symbol is on Ilum, Lothal, and Mortis, and so I think that they lived at the Lothal temple and the Ilum temple, because all their symbolism is there.
Oh.
And that could be an amazing bridge into what we're going to be talking about next, which would be the world between worlds, and we see that symbol on, of course, Lothal. So great, I thank you for that, because that was like a perfect transition.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
So
yeah,
let's talk about a little bit of the world between worlds, Hereth.
Yeah, I want to talk about how the world between worlds is kind of like a weird kind of like semi-realm of Mortis, but it's like between all of time, since it's in the title. So yeah, Gray, I want to hear your thoughts about the world between worlds, and what do you think the relation to Mortis is, and how that could potentially work.
One thing I did notice that was pretty cool with a tie-in with those two is, remember when I said that Darth Bane said to the Son that the one who controls Skywalker controls the galaxy? Well, yes. The Emperor said in this one, he said the one that controls the Lothal Temple controls the galaxy. So so to me that tied it in. The symbols tied it in. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And they said that he moved them so that they wouldn't like wreak havoc with the Force. And if they lived at the Lothal Temple and the sun turned there or did something, he would have had control of the world between worlds, which can't be controlled by the dark. It would ruin everything.
Yeah.
Anyway. And so I think that they resided there before they moved to the Mortis planet.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, that's not.
And because all the like circles, the glowing circles and stuff was all over Mortis, and then and the Lothal Temple, and they were also all over the Wellspring of Life, that planet that Yoda went to learn how to be a Force ghost.
Yeah. Jenna, DePaul, I want to hear your thoughts on the World Between Worlds and how that could possibly relate to Mortis.
How it relates to Mortis? I mean, it's just tied in with the whole one. It's a Force arena, if you will. I don't know if that's the proper word I should use, but just it has the connection that it has with the Force. That the Mortis being a virgins in the Force, and then the World Between Worlds. They never called that virgins, right? It's called the World Between Worlds, right?
Yeah, it's just called the World Between Worlds.
Okay. So just the connection, the massive force energy and what it can do. Like Grace said, like the dark can't control the World Between Worlds. That's why Palpatine had to use Ezra, or try to use Ezra to get in there. He couldn't even step in there. He had to send a force fire or whatever to do it.
Yeah, that.
So, so yeah, I mean, just the connection wise, it's just that it's just two powerful force places or environments, and that they're just both connected to the force in their own ways. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be finding other environments like this in the future too, if not, or in the past that is doing the same thing. So it's just, that's all it is, just more of an enhanced force environment.
Dave Filoni said he didn't want to expand on all this Mortis stuff because they want to use it in future Star Wars stuff, and he doesn't want to say something wrong.
So I feel like Gray is hitting us with another perfect segue of, so in the Ahsoka like little logo teaser they released, you could see the World Between Worlds like logos and the background behind it. Like it looks like the environment of the World Between Worlds. So Gray, what do you think that relation is, and how that could, I know we don't know anything about Ahsoka, but how do you think that could potentially tie into Ahsoka and how we could explore more realms of the Force?
I do not know how they're going to work into that, because obviously to me the way it looks like her title page looks like the World Between World. I somehow I would think that she's going to get back there, so maybe, because remember she looked kind of like Gandalf at the end of Rebels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe she did find her way into there and became some time sage, and learned a whole bunch that way. But I am not actually sure about that. Forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
No.
Good. If it comes back now, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I will.
I like the time sage thing. That sounds like Ahsoka is very majestic since she's had her resurrection and everything, but at the same time, and even since she left the Jedi Order, she's just, her maturity grown. So it's just like, oh my god, I love Ahsoka. Okay, cool. But going to the World Between Worlds, I'm like, what? Whoa! Something just saved my ass. Like, I'm not just gonna let that go. I'm like, there has to be a pull to it. And like you said, they have the symbols on the logo of the Ahsoka show. There's gonna be a tie-in to it somehow. Mm-hmm. I believe so, and can't wait to see it though. And
because she's promised that she would find Ezra in the world between worlds, and so maybe they'll do a flashback. I'm not sure. Another thing is that's the second time Ezra was in in the world between worlds. I don't know if you guys noticed, but when he got his Saber's crystal, he was in the world between worlds, and Yoda gave it to him.
Yep.
Yes.
So that's the second time it's actually been in Rebels, and the second time Ezra was there.
Yes.
Because Ezra has a deep connection to it.
I wasn't going anywhere with that. I just thought it was interesting.
No, interesting food for thought.
They even said, well, Kanan said maybe because, or Ahsoka, I think, they said the same thing. Maybe because you are a resident or a native of Lothal, and it's the gateway for the world between worlds is on what was on Lothal, and so his Force connection. I mean, Ezra was using the Force all through Rebels, even before he met Kanan. Not knowing that he was using it. He's like, I'm just acrobatic and do what I do to survive, and blah blah blah. But he was using it, and that's just the Force flowing through him. So no, yeah, I agree that it was cool just to see that when he got his crystal. I'm like, that's the world between worlds.
Yeah.
After rewatch of it, I was like.
And Ezra in the end of Rebels, he's my favorite Jedi. He turned from being just this whiny little brat, just like Ahsoka, to this like awesome, just they're my favorite. Ezra and Ahsoka, I think they're amazing characters with the best character development on TV in Star Wars.
Ezra's also my favorite character. I know you said Ezra. And
Nice. I named my new cat Bridger.
Oh,
Mr. Bridger.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. I need a cat named Bridger. See, yeah. Personally, I'm really hoping that maybe she gets Ezra back and they explore the world between worlds, and that could kind of be what Ahsoka's about. I don't know. That's what I'm hoping. We need Ezra back. He's been gone
I'm
for
sure
too
that's
long.
what it's going to be about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's going to get Ezra, and it's going to have to do with the world between worlds.
Yeah. So, that was an amazing conversation about Mortis. Going forward, we have a ton of new shows and series, movies coming out. If you guys had to pick just one, what would you be most excited for in the upcoming future or Star Wars? Let's go Fern first, since DePaul pointed up. I meant not Fern. Oh my gosh.
I was like, why did you say Fern? I was like Carter.
I don't know why.
I would say Ahsoka.
Yeah. Any reason why? Just obviously because of everything we just talked about.
Well, she's my favorite character. There, next to Leia, there wasn't a lot of like great female character development in Star Wars, and she just came in as just an annoying little bratty kid, and ended up being just one of the greatest characters. And to me, with Clone Wars, they build the characters so much better. I think Clone Wars makes Anakin's story go from being why'd that guy become such a prick so easily to just being the most tragic, sad, thing to happen. I find his downfall just tragic. It makes me cry every time. And so I just love the context that this puts into these characters. And Ahsoka is my favorite because her and Ezra, because their just character development is just so in depth.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. DePaul?
For me, I have two. I have Ahsoka and Acolytes. Those two I'm like, because I just know it's gonna be tons of just Force lore and Force ability. And
probably magic. Probably lots of magic.
Yeah. I'm a Force junkie.
Yeah.
So those are my two ones I'm most excited about. And yeah.
Carter, I would also like to ask you the same question, even though we answered in a previous episode.
I was just gonna ask you the same thing.
Diane
I
moment.
would say yes, very much. I would say I'm definitely excited for Ahsoka in Acolyte, a lot like DePaul, just because of the uncharted territories that the Acolyte Ahsoka are both gonna go in. I think is really interesting, especially with the dark side, since we don't really have a ton on Sith kind of history in canon. To get that in the Acolyte, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Hereth?
I would say for me, I'm the most excited for Kenobi and Acolyte. Kenobi, I think, is going to be absolutely incredible because it's going to be the return of Ian McGregor, and I feel like it's going to be a very emotional tale with him coming to terms with basically his like fall of Anakin. So I'm really excited to see that come on screen, and I know I'm probably bawling my eyes out at the end of it. So, and then Acolyte, I'm so excited for because I'm enjoying the hell out of the High Republic. The High Republic has been absolutely incredible, so I'm excited to see how this story is going to end with the introduction of the Sith in the Shadows. So I'm really excited for both Kenobi and Acolyte. Like, they're, in my opinion, like they're going to be top tier Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
I need to get reading.
Oh, I'm up to date on all the High Republic books
All right,
and
okay.
comics.
I'm on chapter 40 of A Rise of the Storm.
Oh, you're getting to the good part.
I love that book. That was one of my favorite in the series.
Yeah, I got all the High Republic comic books. And I haven't read them. I was waiting until I collect them all. Then I'm like, okay, I'll start reading them. And now I'm up to date on collecting them, so I'm going to start reading them now. So, but yeah.
I need to go read. I'm so, like,
I listen to them on audiobooks. I don't actually read
Yeah,
them.
I don't read. I'm not a reader.
I
I
do.
turn my audiobook to like 150 and I just listen to them.
Same. I do both. I do audiobook plus physical book.
how do you get the audiobooks? 'Cause
Audible.
Audible, I try to go Audible, and that's like sign up for.
It's I do monthly subscription. You get a credit each
I do
month,
too.
and then you claim the book each month. Or if you have a local library, depending on it, you can have ebooks and audiobooks, and then they can give you that
I
for free.
started out on that with the library. I listened to all my first run-throughs of all Star Wars books through the free app at your local library before I got my Audible subscription.
I might need to just pull the trigger and let's get the Audible subscription so I can stop
Yeah.
dancing around Light of the Jedi.
The books are some of the best parts of Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Oh, I know. Yes. Which we are a few weeks from now, we're having an episode on Jedi, we're having an episode on Lost Stars.
I'm so excited for
I
that
think I
episode.
signed up for the Lost Stars one too because that's
Yes,
my favorite.
we'd love to have you both back. I mean, Lost.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for the Lost Stars. It's like so excited.
I got Carter hooked on Lost Stars.
Oh, I've listened to that book at least 10 times.
Really,
Oh yeah.
it's like you're just.
I'm very ADHD. I have to listen to things a bunch of times to retain it.
But you're such a roller coaster of emotions. But yeah, me and Hereth, we like both bought it at the same time. On Amazon one night. We were just in VC. We're like, hey, let's buy Lost Stars. And then I got ahead while he was leading High Republic. Like, come read Lost Stars, you need to.
Yeah,
And then the roles have flipped.
absolutely.
But I think that's probably a good place to end. Fern and DePaul, we think.
Great. You did it again.
You know,
Okay, I'll take over.
Glasses.
I'm thinking of last
I
now.
see it.
I'm not even.
You know, Finn, I was like, I'm bad with names. I'm good with faces. I saw who you was like, it's not Finn.
Gray and DePaul, we thank you so much for coming on.
Where can we find you social media wise?
Where can we find you social media wise?
I'm on TikTok, Donna the Gray. Not much on there. I'm new, and I just got over being sick for an entire month, so I was kind of off. But I'm better now. And then I will have a YouTube channel come fall put together finally.
Yay.
Yes. And DePaul, where can we find you?
You can find me on TikTok at Jedi Master DePaul. Also, you can find me on YouTube with my Diet and the Force X-Core gamer skills at the Conspiracy Cantina that we a podcast that we host bi-weekly. So next week, Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, you can find us there. But yeah, that's that. Those two places right there for Star Wars content.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Until next time.
till next time, thank you all for joining. Just one last shout out to everyone. We have Pods One Podcast, Kyle Foyer, Element 7, X Core,
Justin Thorson.
Justin Thornton, Brian with the Beard, Kieran, Neppy. Thank you guys all for joining. And until next time, may the Force be with you.
Always.